for yourself to elevate your life. So particularly for when we're looking at college applications or scholarships or even jobs, really, what you need to do, go on Google, type the name of the university that you're looking at. For example, I'm looking at McGill University. Put in the program that you're looking at. Maybe you want to do engineering, but you're not sure which type of engineering you want to do. Just put in engineering and then type in the question, maybe programs. And then the Google will produce all this information for you. So let's really leverage Google. So for example, all of these search terms, I tried them myself and they work. So I did McGill, Masters in Public Health, and then program requirement. And it showed me, this is what you need to get in a Masters in Public Health program at McGill. This is what needs to happen. This is the application process and things of the sort. So let's leverage Google for all of the things that we need. And then two is email admissions offices for the program that you want to get into. If you're not even clear about, hey, where do I start? Different universities have admissions office, and the role of the admissions office is to help you get into their school. So if you reach out to them, they will definitely help you in that. I have a student that I was mentoring. They applied to go to university in the US. They were accepted, but then their financial aid was not covering as much as they expected. And they reached out to me saying, okay, I don't know what to do. What should I do? I just told them, reach out to the admissions office, explain your situation, and then wait to hear back from them. And then they just did that. They reached out to the admissions office and they found a way to move forward, and they're now studying in the US. So reach out to the admissions office, very important. And then number three, attend college information sessions. Even for scholarships as well, there are so many informations that different scholarship host that will be helpful for you to attend so that you get a better understanding of what the scholarship is about or what the program is about. What things do they require for you to get in? What's the timeline for the application as well? So just make sure to attend those college information sessions. And how do you find them? Google. I've shown you how to Google this to get the information that you need. And then four, talk to past students to get a better understanding of their experiences, particularly when you're looking at scholarships. Most of the scholarships, they'll have a place on their website where they list the students that have been a part of the scholarship. And just look for those students. You can find them on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Let's leverage all these platforms for our benefit. Reach out to them, introduce yourself, ask them the question that you want to ask them. And then finally use YouTube. So this is how you get the information that you need. So all of the information that I'm sharing today is based on how I got it through Google and other platforms, and then also my own experience as well. Okay. All right. Okay. Now we're going into how to choose a school that you want to get into. So there are so many schools that are out there. Just Google the country that you want to go to and then see which schools are there. And then from there, try to categorize what makes sense based on like the funding, on the requirements, on the program, the locations, and also by talking to former students, that this will help you get a better understanding of what the school is like, what you should expect when you're applying. So that's two. And then three, figure out how much you need to pay for the application cost. So for every college application that you submit, you have to pay an application fee. And for the most part, if you cannot afford this application fee, you reach out to the school admissions. Like I said, you explain your situation. And for the most part, they're able to give you a fee waiver where you're able to submit your application without paying for it. So they will waive that application fee for you so that you don't have to pay for it. So that should not be an obstacle. You're saying, oh, I don't have money to submit the application, because most universities have a way to cater to that. All right. And then in terms of the application process, looking at the program in itself, and then also the scholarship itself. So academic years in the West, so we're looking at Canada, we're looking at the US, we're also looking at the UK. Most of them, the academic year goes from August all the way into May. So it would be like August 2024 into May 2025. That's one academic year. So applications open right now, they just opened last month up until December this year for the next year. So if you're planning on going to school, you'll be applying starting next year. You'll be applying right now to start in 2025 for the most part, or you can apply also right now to start in January. Sometimes there's some few select programs that allow you to do that, to be able to start in January instead of starting in August. So there are two applications that you need to do. You need to apply to the program. So for example, if you're doing engineering, if you want to do medicine, if you want to do whatever STEM thing you want to do, you apply for that specific program within the school. That's the first application you need to do. And second, you need to do an application for the scholarship itself. So there are two different applications you need to do, two different requirements, and then you submit them separately. And these two applications have two different timelines and deadlines as well. So you need to make sure that you're aware of what the deadline for the program is, the requirements of the program. You need to be aware of the deadline for the scholarship and the requirements for the scholarship. So I hope that's very clear. You just don't apply to the program and then you assume that you'll get the scholarship. You have to apply to both separately and submit those applications. Okay, so at least 1 year before applying. So I'm talking to people who are looking, for example, who are preparing this year. Maybe you're in your final year in your undergrad, or a couple of years back, maybe you still have 2 more years, or even if you want to apply this year, it's still okay. What you need to do, the first thing is to pray for God to guide your steps, especially if this is the first time you're applying for studying abroad. It can be very overwhelming. It can be very confusing, and it can be tiring as well. So ask God to help you through the process, to bring people in your life, to bring ideas that will lead you in the right direction amidst all the chaos and figuring out the process. And ask God that even if you don't know what you're doing, you're in the middle of the confusion, ask God to just direct your steps in that middle of the confusion, so that whatever step you take is in the right direction. So that's step number 1, pray. And then number 2 is make sure you have good grades, whatever the good grades look like within your system. Make sure you're doing well in school. This is the part where I was saying you pray and then you also need to do the work, right? You can't just pray and not do the work. So make sure you have good grades, work hard, make sure you have good grades. And then number 3, engage in your community. This piece in particular is really important when you're now applying for the scholarships. For the program itself, the engaging in community, it's important, but not as much. The scholarship aspect, it's a huge component of the scholarships. You have to show that you are engaged within your community, you're giving back to the community, you are a holistic person, you're just not academics. You have other things that you are interested in. You are actually contributing to the society because they are investing so much money in you, right? They want to make sure that the person that they're investing in will also be able to invest back into the system, into the economy. So make sure you're engaged in your community. So how might this look like? This can look like, for example, you're part of the Rotary Club, you're part of the Leos Club, you do a cleanup within your community, you volunteer at a children's home, you mentor other kids, you are a leader within your church group. It can look very different for everyone, but just make sure you are doing something within your community, because that will be important for you when you're applying, because they'll ask you these questions. And I have an example of that in a later slide. And then also reach out to different people. You need to have references. When you apply, you're going to need references to vet for you, right? Usually for the program, I would say have 2 to 3 teachers, professors that you build relationships with, that you let them know that you're going to be applying. And then for the community part, have 2 or 3 people that have really worked with you, have seen how you're engaging with community. For example, if you're mentoring kids, make sure there's someone who can vouch for you on that and on the work that you're doing. If you're leading the choir in church, make sure you have someone that you develop a relationship with, someone that can be able to write a reference for you. And then the next one is about reaching out to professors that you want to work with, particularly when you're looking at master's program and PhD programs here. For the most part, you're working very closely with a professor if you're doing a thesis-based, if you're doing research. So what you need to do is you need to engage with the professor. Particularly, this is super important, more so for the PhD as well. Because for the PhD, for the most part, they aren't scholarships per se, but the PhD in itself, it pays for your education. It also pays for your living expenses. And that financial aid comes through the professor you're working with. So it's really important that you reach out to professors and then you explain who you are and then what you're looking for, and that you're hoping to work with them in whatever area of research that they're doing. And then you will see what comes out of that. So it's for you to be able to figure out which professors you want to talk to, again, Google. Just put the name of the university, put the name of the program that you're looking at, and then type in a question. So for example, for me, I did public health. It would be McGill, public health, faculty research. And then what happens, you get a list of all the different professors within that department that are doing research within that department. When you get that list, go through the list and then look at the research that they're doing. Their emails are usually on the website. So look at the research, email them, and then see what comes out of that. Just explain yourself, introduce yourself, explain that you'd like to work with them and you're intending on applying, and then see what goes from there. And then you still need to do your applications, of course, but this is very important to strengthen your application, knowing that you already have a professor that wants to work with you, that's backing you up within the program itself. Okay. And then for the year that you're applying, you need to be organized. You need to decide on the schools, write down the requirements for each school, write down the deadlines, reach out to teachers for references, open your applications. And if you're able to, find a mentor, someone who's been through the process, particularly if you've honed in on the school that you want to do. You can even reach out to the admissions office, like I was saying, and ask them, okay, who are the past students from this country that have studied within your program? Who are the past students from Zimbabwe? If they don't have anyone from Zimbabwe, you can ask for someone else from another African country who has gone through that program. Reach out to them, ask them for advice, ask them to review your essays and things of the sort. It really helps. You don't need to go through the process alone. There's a lot of help out there. You just have to find people who are willing to help you. Okay, now we go on to the essays part. For the program, you usually have a personal statement that you need to write. For the most part, if you're applying for a master's or your PhD, it's usually like that one main essays. And I think for the PhD, you also have to write like kind of like a small summary of what your research would look at. And if you have a professor that you're already working with, they can help you tweak that research, right? And then for the scholarship aspect, make sure when you're writing your application, you don't look, particularly if you have a mentor who's gone through this process and they have their own essays, make sure you don't look at other people's essays before you write yours. Otherwise, your creativity will be sucked away from them because of that. So write your own essay. And then after that, you can look at your mentor's essay or other people's essays. And just be prepared to write multiple essays. Your first draft will definitely not be the one. So just brace yourself with that. There will be a lot of back and forth between you and whoever is helping you edit the essay. And every essay that you write should answer the question. Every sentence you write, should answer the question of the essay. Make sure you're clear and concise. Make sure you're creative. I remember for an application for my little sister, she's also here in Canada. She had an essay prompt, and what she did, she wrote a poem in response to the essay. It wasn't an actual essay, and then she got the scholarship. So be creative. Don't be too scared to be creative. And I talked about editing, and just be patient with yourself. It's an exhausting process, so just brace yourself and be patient with yourself. And this is an example of an essay. I won't read it in detail, but the question was, we want to know how you demonstrate potential for leadership and your ability to give back to the community. Like what I was talking about, the community piece is very important for scholarships. And this was the scholarship essay. Tell us about any positions of leadership, responsibility that you've taken in the past 5 years. Please include the details of the position you held and what you did individually to make change. As you can see here, this was for my little sister. She clearly highlighted the key points that she needed to respond to. And every single sentence in her essay was referring to that. So make sure you clearly articulate what they're asking you about. So she talked about the idea of like entrepreneurial mind, being the president of an organization. She talks about being part of the Leo's Club, Scripture Union. So make sure you answer the question, you answer the prompt directly. Okay. And then looking at the references, like I said, you have about 2 to 3 teachers that are with, for example, if you're doing engineering, I know our MC is doing software engineering. You have teachers that are teaching you these courses. You have a relationship with them and ask them for references. Number 2, the community side, like I've already spoken about, make sure you have 2 to 3 people within the community that you're talking to that can also write references for you. And let them know in advance, like, oh, I'm intending on applying for this. Will you be able to write a reference for me? And things of the sort, so that at least they are aware and then now they can pay more attention to the work that you're doing. And then the final one is, and this is very common, you have to be prepared to draft your own recommendation letter sometimes, because professors might not have the time, the community leaders, depending on what their position is, they will not have the time to write it. So usually what happens is you draft your own letter of recommendation and then you send it to them, and then now they would go in and edit it and remove some things, add some things, and tailor it to you. So just be prepared for that. That might happen as well. Okay, now looking at the financial aid and tuition and living expenses side. The first thing, like I said, if you figured out, okay, I want to go to Harvard, I want to go to Yale, I want to go to Cambridge, consult your chosen university, visit the university's website, or simply contact the financial aid office at the university you aim to attend. So every university has a financial aid. It has an admissions office that you can reach out to if you have questions you don't understand, blah, blah, blah. And then it has the financial aid office as well that deal with providing scholarships, financial aid to students, international students, local students. Reach out to them if you want to figure out, or are they even scholarships at this university? Reach out to them, they will let you know. Also talk to professors, particularly for like the PhD and the masters. Talk to professors, because professors sometimes they can sponsor you to come and they can help pay for your education and things of the sort if you're working with them. So for example, one of my close friends, her friend, is now doing his master's at McGill University. I think he started last year, and he just reached out to a professor, right? He just reached out to a professor. He explained what he was trying to do. The professor was like, great, you can come and study under me. And then he applied and then he got in. And then the professor is helping to pay for his tuition and things of the sort, and is doing the research under him. So reach out to professors once you know what you want to do. And reach out also to the program departments, because they also have a better understanding of, they have seen all the students that have come through the program. They have seen the challenges that they face in terms of financial aid, particularly the international students. So they'll be very able to help you troubleshoot, or if they can't, they'll direct you to the person that will be helpful. And then sometimes schools and programs have the scholarship office. We've already spoken about the admissions office. And then the next one is about networking and asking mentors. I cannot emphasize this strong enough. You have to network. Networking, okay, maybe networking sounds like a strong word and it might be intimidating. Just talk to people. Talk to people, build relationships with people. So for example, with Munashe, I have known him since I was on the program, since what, 2011. And now we're in 2024 and we've maintained a relationship, right? You just check in, how are you here and there? If I need something, I'm reaching out, and vice versa. So maintain relationships with people. It's really, really important that you just you treat people with kindness and you're genuine with people. So make sure you network, talk to people. And even for me, for my example, when I was working doing the global health consulting, and I was now trying to go back to medical school, I applied to get into medical school, and then I got in. The scholarship that I wanted, I did not get it. I did not get it. So I was just like, oh my goodness, I've gotten into medical school. Now I need like financial aid. What am I going to do? And I had to reach out to a bunch of people to like ask, what should I do? I reached out to Munashe. I reached out to my mentors that I had met in like 2017 through Mrs. Masiwa. I asked them, like, what do you think I should do? They were like, oh, why don't you reach out to blah, 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 blah. I reached out to that other person, and that's how I ended up getting the scholarship that I'm currently on. So the power of networking, maintaining relationships, being kind and genuine is very, very important. And then also Google. Google. Okay. And then now I'm going to go through a list of, obviously, this list is not exhaustive. That's why I talked to you about how to find these opportunities. But here I've listed some scholarships that are full scholarships. They'll pay for your tuition, they'll pay for your living expenses. You just have to be there and get an education. So there's the Mastercard Foundation Scholarship. This is, I don't think it takes PhD students. I think this is just master's students. They have schools here in Canada. There is McGill, there is British Columbia. They have schools in the US as well. There's schools in Africa. I think there is like University of Cape Town, a number of schools in South Africa. And yeah, so they have a number of universities that they work with. And then you have to apply to the specific MasterCard within the specific university. And I think this is mainly for MasterCard. They also have what's in Edinburgh in the UK as well. They have MasterCard for masters. And then there's McCall McBain Scholarship. This is for McGill international students as well. There's the Rhodes Scholarship. I think the Rhodes Scholarship is for PhD, if I'm not mistaken. PhD in the UK. There's the Chevening Scholarship as well. That's in the UK. There's the University of Winnipeg President Scholarship for World Leaders. This is in Canada. And these are all full scholarships. And there are many, many full scholarships. And I've shown you how to look for full scholarships. And these are some partial scholarships that you can see on here. And there's a list that I'm going to post. Let's see if I can copy it. So there's this list of scholarships that one of my friends that I went to school with for my undergrad, they created this list of scholarship. It's not exhaustive. It can be overwhelming because there's a lot of information in there, but feel free to go in, hop in, and see if there's anything that might be of interest to you in that list. And then, yeah, I think that's all I have to say for today. Just put in your best, network, because the thing is you don't know what you don't know, right? Have a clear idea of where you want to go, and then talk to people about it. You don't need to go through life by yourself, alone. There are so many other people that can help you through that journey. So reach out to people, let other people that you trust, obviously, let them know what you're trying to achieve, what you're trying to attain, and people will look out for you. People will be like, oh, I heard about this opportunity, and I know you were talking about this. Here, apply for this thing. So I think those are my final words. And then finally, it's all by the grace of God. Like my life journey, my parents only paid for tuition up until I was grade 4. Since then, they have not have to do anything. And that is not because I'm smart, I'm clever, or I know what to do. I had zero ideas of what to do, honestly. The first scholarship, the Capenham Trust scholarship that I got, I was just selected. The Pestalozzi one, I had done well in my A-levels, and I think it's brother Danny, Pastor Danny, he's the one who reached out to me. He's like, oh, there's this scholarship, you did really well, go and apply for it. Like what I was saying, people will look out for you if they know what you want to do. So my journey has been unique, and it's been by the grace of God. It's not by strength, because I'm sure, but when I graduated with 11 A's, there were other students in the country as well that also had done better than me, had written more subject and done better than me. But it's just God's grace. So pray, have a relationship with God, and God will guide your steps. So that's all I have to say for today. And I will open it up to questions if people have any questions, and I will stop sharing my screen.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, ma'am, for that. Those were such great tips, I have to say. They were such great tips. And hello, everyone. We are open for questions now. If you have any questions that you would want to ask, ma'am, please feel free to type in the chat box or just raise your hand so that we allow you to unmute and you ask your question. And as we are waiting for anyone who wants to ask a question, I do have a question of my own, ma'am. And please, I would like to ask, if that's okay with you, can you please tell us how you were able to navigate cultural differences and adapt to your new environment when you got the scholarship?
Okay, that's a great question. So for me, when I got the first scholarship, I was so excited. I didn't even think about culture, about, oh, I'm leaving my family. I was just super excited to be leaving the country. This is something I had prayed for a long time. So I was just really excited. So I didn't even think about like the cultural differences and things of the sort until I was actually there. Even when I was saying goodbye to my family at the airport, I was so excited. I was like, bye, I'll see you guys. And and then I left. And then when I was there a couple months in, that's when it actually hit me like, oh, I don't have my family anymore. And that was a bit difficult. But the thing is, you are also you'll meet people. Like I was saying, you go through life with people, you meet people that become family and that become your support system. It's not the same as family and you have to adjust, but you will have that support system. You will meet other people who are going through the same journey, who are also facing the same challenges as you, and you'll build connections with that. So that's what I would have to say about that. It will be okay. Don't let it be intimidating. It will be okay. You will find your feet and you'll meet other people that are supportive of you.
All right. Thank you so much for clearing that for me, ma'am. And in the chat box, I see we have Kelvin Malaba, and he say, how do we find those outside the country? So I'm not sure what he was trying to say. So maybe if I could allow him to unmute so that we ask what he was actually trying to say on how do we find those outside the country. I don't know, find what. I don't know if you're getting the question, ma'am.
I'm not sure I'm getting it, but as Kevin is unmuting, I think that he also posted another story about non-STEM students. How do they get scholarship? It's basically the same process, honestly. You just like what the tools that I've shared with you, you can use them for anything, really, even if you're non-STEM. Some of the scholarship that I've shared with you, like the MasterCard one and things of the sort, even if you're non-STEM, you can apply for those. So it's not like highly exclusive to like STEM. And the tools that I shared with you in terms of how to look up scholarships and things of the sort, reaching out to admissions office, just go through the same process and you can do it for non-STEM scholarships as well.
All right, that's great. I'm sure he's heard that. And Calvin, hello, just asked you to unmute so that you can ask your question, what you were trying to say about the other question. Please go ahead. Okay, I guess Kelvin is not gonna unmute, but I'm just gonna go to this other question, ma'am. There is Amanda D, and she's saying, what are your handles on social media platforms in case we need to ask more direct questions?
That's a good question. You can reach me on Facebook. It's just Clay Gapara, first name, last name. You'll find me. Facebook is good. You can reach me on Facebook. Yes.
All right. And I'm trying to see if there's any
On
other question.
LinkedIn is Clay Gapara as well. LinkedIn is Clay Gapara as well.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. There's another one here, and they're saying, how many schools do you recommend someone to apply to?
That's a very good question because the process is it's quite long. It's not long, it's just intense and a lot of things to do if you haven't done it before. I wouldn't say apply to so many scholarships like that because it might reduce the quality of the application. It's different from, even if you're doing like, I see Nicole was talking about the common application. So for those who don't know, if you're applying to the US, this is mainly for undergrad. I don't think if they do this for masters though. So just a disclaimer there. If you're applying for like an undergrad degree in the US, they have one system that has many schools in it. So you just submit, you just fill in the one application for the school, and then that application goes to many schools. That's the common application. So for that one, it will be easy. But then again, you have to pay a fee for every school, and then you'd need to reach out to every single school for a fee waiver. So I'd say you don't necessarily have to apply to like thousands of schools. I would say maybe if I'm just going to do a ballpark number, maybe 6 to 8, 10 becomes a lot. So it doesn't have to be like a lot of schools that you're applying to. Just submit quality applications.
Okay, thank you so much for that, ma'am. Another question here is saying, how did you manage some negative family or friends influences towards your scholarship opportunity?
I'm not sure I'm quite clear on the question. But for me, uh, I didn't necessarily have any negative family influences. Friends, not really. Yeah, my family is pretty supportive, so I'm very grateful for that. Even my mom, when she had doubts, like for example, when I was saying, my mom was like, "Oh, you're saying you want to study abroad, but you don't. We have this amazing scholarship that will pay for you until you finish university." She never told me that when I was going through the process. It's only like after when I'd gotten the opportunity and I'm not leaving. She was like, "Ah, Claire, I was thinking you have this amazing scholarship." Like I was like, "What does this girl think?" So it's only after the fact that when this happens. But in terms of if you're facing that in your life, I would say be mindful of who you tell what you want to do. As much as I was saying network, tell people what you want to do, be mindful of who those people are. You need to tell people that you know these people are in your corner, these people are supportive of you. Those are the people that you tell, and those are the people that you share. You need to safeguard your dream. And this is really important because if you don't, your dream will die if you're just telling everyone. So tell a few select people that can actually help you, people that can actually edify, push you, and move you forward.
Yeah, that's a really great tip right there, ma'am. Thank you so much for that. I see we have a hand from Panashe Pemiwa, and I'm gonna ask him to unmute so that he goes through with this question. Over to you, Panashe. Hello. Okay, as Panashe is trying to unmute, I saw another question that is saying, is there any chances or are there any chances of being scammed as you're trying to apply for the scholarships? Is it ever
Being
possible
being what?
of
Hello.
being scammed?
Scammed. Yeah, you just have to vet, right? You just have to vet what you're trying to do. For the most part, if it's like a legit scholarship, it's a legit scholarship, full stop. So you just have to make sure that the scholarship you're applying to is actually legit and Google, look at other people that have gone through the scholarship and what they say. If there is no record, just be very careful.
All right. I saw Panashe was trying to say something.
Okay, thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, great. My name is Panashe Pemiwa, and I'm an engineering student at the University of Zimbabwe. Thank you very much for the wonderful presentation. I really learned a lot, and also I'm really intrigued by the journey. I also went through your LinkedIn profile. Quite amazing things that you've done. Okay, so I just wanted to ask, since we are just in the line of scholarships, universities, maybe there's someone here who
Anash, I think you cut out.
Yeah, I think he dropped it. I actually thought it was my network, but I think he has dropped. But as we wait for him to come back, I'm gonna read this question out to you, ma'am, as we wait for Panashe to come and finish with this question. Someone is saying, is it possible for someone to change the program when you get the scholarship? Maybe like I was doing teaching, then I get a scholarship, then I think to change. Is it possible?
That only works if you're coming in for an undergrad degree in the, I don't know if that happens in the UK, because I think the UK you have to kind of have your mindset. But if you're coming to do your first degree or undergrad degree and you're studying in the US or Canada, you can change. So for most of the schools that are called liberal arts schools, the first 1 or 2 years, you don't necessarily have to declare this is what I'm studying. There's some general courses and things of the sort that you take, and then in your third year or so, that's when you have to declare this is what I'm studying. So you have that wiggle room to change. So for example, for me, I did neuroscience in my undergrad. It's at a certain point in time, I wanted to change to chemical engineering. And then I was going down that path, and then and it was very possible for me to do that. And I have my little sister's friend, she started in biology, she ended up in like engineering. So there's room to change. For undergrad degree, for masters, I think once you're in for your masters, you're in for your masters. That's the end of the story. The same as PhD as well.
Okay, so when it's masters, that's a point of no return.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. You have to know what you want at that point.
All right, ma'am. Thank you for clarifying that. So, in the event that a professor is covering the payment of fees, how can one ensure that the professor will not withdraw from the agreement Are there any contracts or formal agreements in place to guarantee this commitment?
To my knowledge, I've never heard of this happening where you're coming in and the professor is helping you out and then they withdraw the funding. Usually when a professor says, oh, you can come in, they know they have enough money to cover you for the 2 years or however long your program is. So I've never heard of this happening. And I think they would be, not like contracts per se like that, but you would be signing on like financial aid and things of the sort through the professor. Highly unlikely to happen. I've never heard of it happening before.
All right, that's great. I also see there's a hand up, but well, unfortunately, my apologies, I cannot read that name out. But the good part is they have typed in their question in the chat box, and it's saying, I joined in a bit later, so I don't know if you have talked about this already, but I would love to know if I can apply for humanities courses, philosophy to be specific, because I heard you speaking about engineering mostly.
Yes, correct. So you can apply for anything. I know the session says STEM, but even outside of STEM fields as well, the process is still the same. Whether you're looking for your master's, you're looking for a PhD, the process it's still the same. So you can still follow the same steps that I shared, and you should be able to get in.
Okay. And is saying how competitive is the scholarship?
Our scholarships are competitive, right? They are definitely competitive because you're not only competing against students in Zim, it's across the globe, it's across the world. So scholarships are definitely competitive and people receive thousands of applications of scholarship. That's why I'm saying you have to put your best foot forward. Make sure you're working on your grades, you're doing that community engagement, prepare yourself so that when the opportunity comes, you're ready. So scholarships they're quite competitive, honestly.
All right. I was still trying to see if Panashe is back, but I see he's not. I guess he had network problems there. So let me just look for other questions. And what's the name of the scholarship? I got in a bit late. That's someone asking. They're saying they got in a bit late.
Okay, so I had a number of different scholarships as I have highlighted. I had the Capital Trust Scholarship from grade 4 up until I finished my O levels, and then I had the Pestalozzi International Scholarship for like the A levels. I did the IB International Baccalaureate Diploma, and then I had a MasterCard scholarship for Michigan State University. I had a MasterCard scholarship for McGill University, and now I'm on another scholarship for McGill University as well for my for studying medicine. So different scholarships.
Okay. So someone's saying most times only 5 are picked out of 1,000. Scholarships are competitive, you bet it. Okay, they're just telling us. All right, so please guys, keep the questions coming. We're waiting for your questions, and as we are waiting for those questions, I'm gonna give you another one of my own meme. So you said that there was a time where you were saying you did not want to study in Africa and all this, you wanted to go abroad and all that. So my question is, what actually inspired you to go and study abroad?
That's a very good question. That's the thing. Like God, like what I was saying, God gives you the desires of your heart. Because at that point, no one in my family actually, I did not know of anyone that I can say, okay, this person inspired me to say, I want to go and study abroad. I did not have any role model in that area, if I can put it like that. I just felt like I don't know where the idea came from or whatever. I just felt like I wanted to go and study abroad. That's what I was saying. Like God gives you the desires of your heart. So if you feel strongly about something, don't negate it or just like, whatever. God has given you that desire. And because he has given you that desire, he's placed the resources, the people, the opportunities already in your path to take you where you need to go. So don't play down your dreams, if I could say. And there's one question I think we missed about how did you manage to get good grades in school? Okay, this is something that I want to quickly touch on. There's this notion that there are people that are intelligent and then there are people that are not intelligent. That is not true. That is not true. Everyone is smart. Everyone is intelligent. You have to understand what type of learner you are, right? So because for me, when I go into a lecture, there are some of my friends that who go into a lecture, they're coming out, they know the content, it's good like that for them. For me, I'm the sort of student where I'm coming out of the lecture, I need to go and study so that I get good grades. I'll give you like a very specific example. When I finished Form 2, we're going to Form 3, that's when you started doing the sciences in Zim. I don't know if things are different. So I was doing physics. Physics was so difficult for me. I remember the first time we had exams, I had 48%. Is that a D or a U? I don't even know. I did really bad in physics. And I was just
The
like,
D.
man. Yes, exactly. I was like, no, this is not okay. So the next semester, I went and I talked to our teacher. I asked her for the book that she used to teach physics. I went and I read physics. And that semester, the second semester, I actually got the prize in physics. So that's what I'm talking about. No one is dull. You need to know what sort of student you are and put in the work that's required for you to do well. That's all I have to say about that.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am. I actually was one kind of such a student when it came to physics. I always told myself that physics is so hard. Physics is. I think I actually got this negative attitude over physics. So, I guess
Yeah,
you're right when you say you have to put in the work. You really have to put in the work.
you
So,
have to.
yeah, thank you for that. Another question here is saying, does LinkedIn provide reliable emails or links for undergraduate attachment applications? Is there another way of getting the HR emails or links?
So okay, this actually comes back to the question about applying for to work abroad. LinkedIn is LinkedIn. Usually, unless if you pay for it, I don't think you can access people's emails. You just have to like message them and when you do the connect with this person, there's an opportunity to put a small message. So you can add in a small message in that so that at least they have an idea of who you are and then they can accept your connection. So that's one. In terms of HR emails or links, just look on Google. If you have a company that you're looking for, look up the company, look for HR, they'll have their email address there. So that's how you can get those links. And then in terms of jobs abroad, if you're in the STEM field and things of the sort, you just have to look them up. LinkedIn is a great platform. It becomes very tricky because most companies in the US and in Canada, even abroad really, because of tax purposes and things of the sort, it's difficult for them to employ people that are coming from outside their country, unless if they're going to sponsor you for the particular visa. And there are companies that do that. I think Microsoft does that, Amazon does that. A number of companies will sponsor you so that you're able to come. So you just have to look up those things. Like again, use Google, look up like maybe you put the software engineering jobs in this country, companies that sponsor, and then you get a list and then you go off from there. And then after that, there was a question about SATs, and SATs are English tests, language tests that you need to write to prove that you have a proficient enough level to speak English in the US, Canada, wherever you're going. For the most part, there are certain schools where if you did your first degree in English, you don't have to, but most of them, I would say 98% of them, you need to. SATs are more particular to the undergrads. It's not particular to like your masters and PhDs. I think for masters and PhD, you might need to write the IELTS, the International English Language Tests. I think those ones are not like the SATs. The SATs are just, I did not like the SATs. I took them. I did not like them. So, but then the IELTS I think are more friendly and it's more like conversational English, not like, oh, what does this word mean? So the IELTS are a bit better. And also don't let that be a factor that will deter you from applying as well.
Okay, thank you so much for that, ma'am. We'll keep that in mind. And do you have any plans of coming back to Zimbabwe to work as a doctor? If so, is it possible?
Yes, the plans are there. I was actually in Zim. I just came back to Canada last Sunday. That's when I came back. I was in Zim the whole of August. It was nice. The long-term goal is definitely to come back. Not within I need to get some good years under my belt once I start practicing, but eventually I would love to come back to Zimbabwe because home will always be home. So definitely.
That's amazing. We would want you to come back. And when you do, please reach out so that we know you're in the country.
I
So
will. Most
Panashe,
definitely.
Panashe, please do unmute. That would be amazing. Hello, Panashe, please do unmute and go ahead with your question.
Okay, great. I was just asking that, sorry, where I am, the network is not stable. So my question, I was just asking, is there a way that maybe someone who didn't get, this young person that I met, and then they felt like, life has just ended because they didn't go to the US. So what are some of these short courses, that people can take online to maybe catch up with those guys who start abroad, in a way of enhancing their CVs? And how can they start to create their profiles so that they can be globally competitive, not only looking, at the Zimbabwe sector, but what is it that people can do? And do you know any possible partnerships? Because I would like to believe that we also have medical students connected here. So any possible partnerships, maybe projects that we can do with you, to start maybe working together. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Panache. That's a great question. So talking about the medical students, I think I haven't touched on it, so thank you so much for bringing it up. For the medical students, when you're coming to the US you have to do a first degree first, basically. You need to do your first degree in whatever it is, and then after that, you start your medical degree. So for example, I did my undergrad in neuroscience, and then after that, now I'm doing medicine. So you can't do medicine directly from high school. I think that's possible in the UK. But in Canada and US, you have to have that first degree. And then even after, if you've practiced, for example, you finished your medical degree in Zimbabwe, and then you want to come to Canada or to come to the US to study, to practice in the US, it's still possible. You have to they require you to take standardized tests to make sure that your level of education is on par with what they are giving. So there's the US LME for the US, there's USMLE 1, 2, and then eventually 3. So you'd need to take, I think you'd need to take 1 and 2, and then the third one, you take it later when you come here for you to be able to practice once you move. And in Canada, there's something similar. It's not the US LME, there's something else that's similar that you'd need to take to just make sure your level of education is good. And then you apply for the specific hospital or whatever you're applying to, and then you get in. It's called International Medical Graduates in Canada. Let me just put this in the chat. It's called International Medical Graduates. International Medical Graduates. So if you want to understand more about how, if you've studied medicine, how to come to the US, just Google that, and then you'll get the information on that. So that's one. And then the other questions about collaboration for a friend who did not manage to get into the US, I don't think that's the end of life. Obviously, it sucks if you've really wanted this for a long time and you've been working towards it. It really, really sucks. But what I can say is you just have to continue pushing, right? So if that means that you're going to do your undergrad in Zimbabwe, that's okay. And then you can do your master's abroad, that's fine. If that means you're going to take a gap year, and within that gap year, you just have to make sure you're doing things that actually contribute to your application, and then you reapply next year, you can do that as well. But you just have to keep on pushing. That's life, right? You can't say just because this has not happened, then I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to stop. So you just have to keep on pushing. And then a story that I want to share with you guys so that you know that it's not all rosy. It might look like it's rosy, but it's not all rosy. When I finished the International Baccalaureate Diploma, which is kind of like parallel to the A levels, I applied for many scholarships. Oh my goodness. And I only got waitlisted on one school, Michigan State University. All the other schools rejected me. So this is how it is. And I was like, oh, am I gonna go to school for my undergrad? Am I gonna go back home? I did not know what was gonna happen. And I was actually waitlisted. It wasn't even I had like, oh, this scholarship. I was like, oh, I'm gonna pick this one. I did not have that luxury. It was like, I'm waitlisted on this school. And the only reason that I end up going to that school is because me and one of my colleagues at our school were both applied to that school. She had gotten in, I had gotten on the wait list. And she had also gotten into another university. So she ended up accepting the other university. And then there was a sport. That's how I got in. So it happens. Not everything is rosy. You just have to keep on pushing and moving forward.
Thank you so much for that, ma'am. So I'm going to take the last 2 questions because of our time. And then the other ones, if there are any remaining, we will note them down and make sure that we forward them to you so that maybe you respond to them some other time. So we have a question from Modesta Pyra, and she is saying, when you've studied medicine in Zimbabwe, is it easy to get a scholarship to specialize in the US or Canada?
You can get a fellowship. Well, I do not study medicine in Zim. I'm studying medicine right now at McGill University. But if you do study in Zim, easy. There is nothing that's easy in life. So I'm not really sure how to answer that question. Everything is very difficult. Everything is very hard, and you have to work really hard to get certain things in life, right? So I would not say it's easy. There is a path to get there, but you're gonna need to put in the work and get the connection and find other people that have gone through the same process that you can ask for advice from. So it's possible for you to study in Zim and then practice in Canada, practice in the UK, practice in the US. It's possible to do that. Just Google international medical graduates, and then you'll see how to do the different things.
Okay, great. So I have someone here saying, I recently started a peer support group. Can that be considered as part of my community work? That's gonna be the last question for today.
Okay. Yes, that's part of a community work. Just make sure if you need 2 or 3 references. So if you have someone that you're working with, they can be your reference for that. But not every single project that you do, you'd need a reference, right? So it's a good thing. Like the peer mentorship, it's good because even when I did my application, I wrote about the people that I was mentoring, right? So that's definitely possible. And about the GPA, there's no meaning. There is, depending on what you're applying for. But for the masters, not really. I don't think there's like a minimum GPA. Double check with the schools because it might be different for different schools for you to qualify for the masters. For the school, there's the program and then the scholarship. The scholarship, they consider the grades, but then they also consider the community engagement and your leadership and things of the sort. So there isn't like a minimum GPA for a scholarship per se. It's more about the work that you're doing in the community, although your grades have to be competitive. So I hope that's helpful.
All right, that's great, ma'am. Thank you so much for being here with us. And before we end the session, I just want to ask if you have anything, any words of motivation or just anything that you would want to say to the people that are here on the platform today.
I just want to say life is not all rosy. Life can be very difficult, and that's just the nature of life. And even for myself, Munasha knows my life story, like everything that has happened to me. And it's not as rosy as you might see now. Like now I'm sitting here and think, and it looks like this. I've gone through trials and challenges, losing people I love, things not working out. That happens. But the thing is, you have to continue pushing. Give yourself time. Life is about pivoting. Something happens in life that you were hoping for this thing a lot, and then things change. Take some time to feel, to be sad, to be frustrated. And then after that, pivot. What's the next thing? What can I do? This has not worked out. What's the next thing? You cannot tire. So I think that's the lesson that the message that I would like to leave with people. Life is hard. Life is difficult. You have to continue pushing. Things happen. When things happen, feel it. It's okay to be sad. It's okay to be frustrated. Pivot. That's one. Second thing is, life is about people. You don't go through life alone. You should not go through life alone. So find people that you trust, find people that root for you, find people that support you, find people that can help show you the way. You don't have to go through every single thing in life to know how to do things. Leverage other people's experiences that have gone through the same path so that you know what to do and what not to do. That's the second thing. And then the final thing that's most important is have a relationship with God. Have a relationship with God. It's very difficult to go through life when everything depends on you, and it should not depend on you. So there's God. He's there. He's your support. He's your advocate. He makes the path for you. He says, the Bible says that your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. That's what God is there for, to be there for you. He's your father. He is your father. He's like your dad, right? So make sure you have a relationship with him and just be kind and genuine to people. Be kind to people. So that's what I would say.
Amazing, amazing. Once again, thank you so much, ma'am, for taking your time and giving us such great tips. We would never have known this had it not been for you. So thank you so much. But I just saw that I guess people really didn't get your socials. So please, if you may go through that again on how they can get to contact you and how they can get to see all the things that you have posted or anything that they just may want so that they can reach out to you.
Okay, so to Gapara, if you've LinkedIn, it's Gapara. Facebook is Gapara. If you want to follow my medical school journey, I have an Instagram, Gapara, for medical school journey. So everything is like Gapara. So it's quite easy to find me. And then when
Uh,
you reach out to me as well, please be specific on what you want. Don't just say reach out and say, "Hi, how are you?" And then what? Like just like introduce yourself, let me know what you want so that I can reply to you immediately and you can actually get moving with whatever you want to get moving with.
Okay, ma'am, that's amazing. So thank you so much for being here. We look forward to seeing you again. This definitely cannot be the last session with you. We would want to invite you again so that you come and speak to us. You're such an amazing soul. Thank you so much, and may God bless you. So now I'm just gonna quickly get to the announcements for the week. Please remember to subscribe for YND channel. Subscribe on our YND channel. We need this channel to keep growing. And just another thing, please do remember to connect for Global Intercessors. It's open 24/7. Just connect and pray for your family, pray for Zimbabwe, pray for the world, pray for the nation, pray for everyone. So Young and Dynamic continues next week, same place, same time. See you then.